Hey everybody, and welcome to the D&D podcast. Today, I have a story for you from my second homebrew campaign. Now, this took place a couple years after my first homebrew campaign, and I didn't have much time to come up with a lot of good ideas for it, but I did have a ending in mind. When the ending finally came, the party consisted of a monk, a fighter, a wizard, and a sorcerer. Now, this story mostly revolves around the monk. She was very powerful at this point. They all really were. It was another high-level campaign. And there is a homebrew version for D&D 5e of Cthulhu. And I knew I wanted him to be the final boss. It is very powerful, very strong, and from the looks of it, well, just by glancing at it, you would think not easily beaten. Well, my monk proved me wrong. Well, my player's monk proved me wrong. They all started when they approached the final boss, which was, once again, Silverwood, because they technically failed to defeat him the last time. And right when it seemed as if the final boss fight was about to begin, they hear a bell ringing, and it takes them all off guard, and they see the members of a cult starting to surround all of them. Now, I should probably preface that there has been signs and hints of a cult being in the land by this point, though they never actually encountered it, mainly because they didn't really care. They thought it would just be some useless side plot that wouldn't really lead to anything, but that could have prevented all of this from even happening. Now, as the cult surrounded them, they had finally found Silverwood, and they began chanting. As I mentioned previously, Silverwood normally levitated just because. He really had no good rhyme or reason for it. It was more of a show of power. So, he begins to slowly descend. As chains from the earth, chains made of earth, shoot from the ground. They tie around his arms and his legs. The group is kind of stunned by this, and they decide that if this cult is against Silverwood, they should probably just sit back and watch. So they did. And the cult starts closing in on everyone, mostly Silverwood though, and as the chains pull him to the ground, the cult is now in a very small circle, as they take out a piece of rotting flesh from an ancient being that they can't identify. They put it on Silverwood as he's chained, and the earth around him begins to consume him. He begins to grow. He begins becoming larger. His arms shoot out of this mountain that he has become. His head breaks free. He rips apart his cocoon of the earth as Cthulhu stands there. Now, as someone that is familiar with the Cthulhu mythos, I know that this is not at all accurate to the actual version, but this is not the real Cthulhu. I did have some lore behind this. This was not the original by any means. It was the equivalent of a copy that this cult was able to make. Now, I assume that this is going to be a very difficult fight, and under normal circumstances it would have been. So what I did was I turned on the theme song from Super Smash Bros. Brawl, as all of their former characters that they played from the last campaign show up to assist them, and I give them back their original character sheets to play with. So they have their new characters and their old characters. Also, 2 crucial NPCs that they just loved. I allowed them to show up to help fight as well. Now, this would have been more of a fair fight, but you'll see what happened very soon. Initiative was rolled, and one of the NPCs went first. Big time miss. The barbarian rolled like a 3 on the attack roll. After that, it was the sorcerer's turn. He used Mega Magic to cast Twin Spell. I believe it was Twin Finger of Death. It hit, though it didn't do too much damage. So this is where a little bit of my inexperience as a DM really showed. With the monk in the Fury of Blows, since I was fairly unfamiliar with the class at the time, I believed that the Fury of Blows wasn't another attack. I thought it was another action entirely. I thought it didn't have to just be another punch. So, also I should probably mention that the monk found a very powerful magical item called a necklace of fireballs that had, I believe, 7 beads on it. With the necklace of that should be pretty self-explanatory. With the necklace of fireballs, you rip off a bead, you throw it, and it's the equivalent of casting fireball at 3rd level. I'm pretty sure you can see where this is going because the monk's turn was coming up. However, it was one of the players' turns. They attacked, and they did hit Cthulhu. They only did about 3 points of damage, though, because they rolled really well. Then it was Cthulhu himself's turn. He attacked the player that had just hit him. That player was flying on a young... It wasn't a wyvern, but it was a very young dragon. Cthulhu completely decapitated the dragon with one swipe, then with another swiped at the player himself, nearly killing him in one hit. After that, he turned back to the NPC that missed him and nearly killed him with one more hit. It was the monk's turn now, and she took the necklace of fireballs. Told me she was going to use Fury of Blows and used all 7 beads at the same time. Because, as I said, I was very unfamiliar with the class and I believed it to be an action. And that's how I was running it the entire game, so if I changed it, that would be inconsistent, although I was just wrong. So the monk throws all 7 fireballs at Cthulhu, and oh man, just imagining that was hilarious. And if I remember correctly, one fireball is 8d6 damage. So I told my monk, okay, roll 56 d6 points of damage, and almost every single die was maximum damage. That was it was amazing, and it was several hundred points of damage all at once. And because of Cthulhu's original health, she one-shot Cthulhu. Of course, I didn't want the fight to end that way, so I did give Cthulhu a couple extra hit points after the fact. I know that is a little cheating, but it would have been very anticlimactic for this very long game to just end it there. But that is the story of how my player's monk, one-shot Cthulhu. Of course, the fight did continue on, and they took down Cthulhu pretty easily after that. And it still was anticlimactic, but not as much as it would have been. Anyway, that's today's story. I hope you all enjoyed. Hopefully you give this video a like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell. And let me know if there's anything you want me to talk about or anything I could be doing differently. And until next time, roll well.